It's our March woven basket recipient, Chum. We're here to learn all about Chum today, so we will pass out the woven basket in just a bit. And basically, Chum Food Shelf is part of the Minnesota Food Share campaign, and Marty Sozansky, who has just completed 4 years on the Chum Board of Directors, is here today to talk about the need to support the food shelf, and she's also going to provide some up-to-date information about other Chum activities. So you've made it the right spot for a really meaningful forum. Thank you all so much for being here, and let's give it up for Marty.
Good morning. Good morning. A year ago today, the program was this same program, the March Minnesota Food Share program, and I was pretty aggressive with Sally Munger and demanded that I be allowed to do this today. So here I am. I made it through the year. I want to read the mission statement for Chum. People of faith working together to provide basic necessities, foster stable lives, and organize for a just and compassionate community. Next slide.
There we go. And we just got to click again there.
Oh.
It should be good now with the arrows.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the 2025 food drive first, and then with some more information about what's happening at the food shelf now. And then I thought I would share some information about other Chum activities which are great in their scope, and particularly about the housing program through Stepping On Up, for which Chum is the fiscal agent, and then a little bit about us, if I hope we have time for all of that. The food drive, and during this forum, we will pass the woven basket in case you might miss it. You don't want to do that. The 2025 Chum Food and Funds Drive, okay, is part of Minnesota Food Share. We put 2 posters up in the church. It runs from yesterday until April 6th, during which time they hope to collect 40,000 pounds of food and $80,000. I'll talk in a few minutes a little bit more about the use of the money, but a great deal of it is to go to purchasing 6 or 7 CSA shares. This is only the 3rd year that the Chum Food Shelf has offered fresh produce on Fridays, and I'll talk more about that in a second. The food shelf, I came on the board in 2021, and all the meetings were still on Zoom. Nobody was seeing anybody in 2021, but the food shelf had to respond to enormous changes at the beginning of COVID. And they purchased, and the state, I think, helped them purchase those boxes. Okay, are they trapezoidal boxes? You know, the grocery stores have them. You used to buy them for $2 at Cub Foods. They're not rectangular because the sides flare out a little bit. I wasted 20 minutes looking that up. But anyway, there were hundreds of those purchased because food had to be packed into the boxes, and clients of the food shelf then came in and took their boxes. Everybody wore masks. It was a completely new and different model for distributing food. And the interesting thing about that is that that endures now. The food shelf does not have enough space to operate under the most desirable model, which is the food shelf looks like a grocery store. And you come in and shop for what you need. There just simply isn't shelf space to do that. So they continue to package the food in the boxes, and that enabled them to envision a program, I think 4 years ago, of Chum to Go. On Thursdays, volunteers in their automobiles deliver boxes of foods to people who have no opportunity or no good opportunity to get to the food shelf. Transportation being the major issue. 35 to 40 boxes around the city every single Thursday during the day. I have not heard recently that drivers are needed, but that is always something that is, I think, an open volunteer possibility. Then, even more recently, the food shelf saw that there are food deserts in housing complexes or in parts of the city where people have difficulty getting to the variety of foods that they want. And so they conceived the idea of pop-ups where they just fill a truck with boxes of food and take it somewhere. Examples of where they go are the St. Francis Apartments on 2nd Street, out to Gary New Duluth, and in a public place to distribute boxes of food. The Pleasant View Trailer Court, which I looked up, is at 94th and Grand. So these are examples, and the pop-up, I think there are 8 or 9 places now around the city where they are doing that, and still with the boxes. I think that is going to be with us for a long time. The idea of purchasing shares in CSA, community supported agriculture, so that we can offer fresh foods on Fridays to clients of the food shelf is, like I said, this is only the 3rd year. And this has been, I'm on the Distributive Services Committee, which means food shelf. This is still an evolving project. It has been challenging to offer up the fresh foods to some clients who are not used to preparing that kind of food. And I don't know, I didn't start eating vegetables with great enthusiasm until I retired. So it's been hard. And this year, we're trying to put together a couple of programs where we offer simple recipes for preparing foods that, fresh foods that clients have not been used to having access to. And we will plan 2 or 3 Fridays where we sample fresh foods. Apparently, there are people who make kale smoothies. And so, wouldn't that be fabulous? And the most adamant comment I've heard about kale is a wonderful food, but nobody knows how to fix it properly. So I think there's opportunity there. It is a growing thing, and of course, these fresh foods are only available in the summer. But I hope that program keeps going with enthusiasm. Okay, that is mostly what I wanted to tell you about the food drive and the food campaign. Do you have any questions specifically about the foods?
I have another mic so we can hear each other, especially all of our online folks. Anyone have questions so far? What's been covered? We can also look on the online. Kathy asks this, Marty, is it not more helpful to donate money than food? What would you recommend?
That is always brought up and is always commented on. It is true that the food shelf has a great purchasing power, and more so than you and I do. So donating money is a really good idea. At the same time, in the same sentence, we don't reject food. So keep bringing the peanut butter. If that's
Can
what,
you define the term chum?
define the term chum? Who said that?
Central Hillside United Ministries, Churches United Ministries, or something else? Or friend?
Yeah, let's, just because we're having a hard time hearing the online folks, if you can put your questions in the chat, that would be helpful. Thank you. All right, go for it, Russ.
My question was, does Chum interact with Second Harvest?
They purchase most of their food from Second Harvest. Yeah.
And what is the
Yeah.
definition of chum?
1973, the first name of Chum was Central Hillside United Ministry. 10 churches in the Central Hillside, all of whom had tried to have their own programs, summer programs for children, and do other things in their part of the city, decided, wouldn't it be the best if we all worked together? And so a fellow who was John Hawley, the late John Hawley, who was an employee in outreach at Gloria Dei Lutheran Church, became the first executive director. Later in the 80s, the name was officially registered with the state as not Central Hillside, but Churches United in Ministry. And that remains the name officially on state records, although the branding strategy has been to brand as Chum. And we call ourselves People of Faith. We have 44 congregations as members, and we use the word congregations because UUCD is a member, as well as Temple Israel. We don't always call ourselves churches.
Here's another online question, Marty, from Beth. How is the plant butter campaign going, and is that still a priority item to donate?
The what?
Or peanut butter, maybe.
Peanut butter.
There we go. Sorry. Typo.
We have a program in to support the food shelf called the Staples Suppliers Program. There are 18 congregations that have chosen a specific food that they bring regularly, although everything is acceptable. But we have peanut butter, and I regularly take every week 10 to 12 pounds of peanut butter down to the food shelf from us. Also take other foods, of course. The big three right now are cereal, mac and cheese, and soup. Two things about soup. Cream soups are not desired. You need basic chicken noodle. And if you happen to purchase, hopefully at a great price, soups with pop-top cans, those can be taken to the encampments more readily. But all soups, all cereals are good. The Staples Supplier Program is a really fun one. And we have congregations have gone together with others and taken truckloads of mac and cheese down to the food shelf as sort of a competitive thing.
I know that there is other topics, so I'm going to pass around the woven basket like Shonix is. We'll start this off, and then I know we have other opportunities for Q&A after one or two of your other sections, Marty, so feel free to keep going. I think we're all caught up in the online side.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Where is,
It's just because we clicked into Zoom, but you should be good again.
okay, thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about shelter. The highlight for me of a wonderful Mardi Gras party Thursday night was a reveal show that shows a design of the redesigned shelter that should hopefully be opened in sometime in 2026. So the Chum has acquired enough funding, except for a couple $1 million, to rebuild the shelter on the very same site that it is now, 125 North First Avenue West. Okay. For a year and a half after the shelter has to close for these renovations, the shelter will be located on the 3rd floor of the Damiano Center, which is finished and it's equipped but needed substantial renovation and clearing out and that sort of thing. So that's where the drop-in center and the shelter will be during construction. During this same time, the Chum administrative offices will be redesigned. Now they're currently located just around the corner on 2nd Street. And the administrative staff will be moving shortly, and I don't know where. So it's, they are working really, really hard. John Cole, the executive director, is in meetings every day for hours on every detail of planning and moving and getting us into the Damiano Center. I want to remind you that at the Steve O'Neill Apartments, there are 6 apartments that serve as a family shelter. And also to remind us that from November through April, in addition to the Chum shelter, there is a warming center, which is a more of a temporary site, but it is a way for people to get out of the cold. And they are full almost every night, especially a couple of weeks ago in the weather. Then on April 1st, we changed to Safe Bay, which is overnight help for people living in cars. Living in cars, sometimes with families. Sometimes people are employed, but still have no housing and are living in their automobiles. For the last 2 or 3 years since the program started, that site has been the parking lot at Damiano Center. Now it can no longer be there this spring because of the planned move of the shelter from the Chum site to the Damiano. There's a lot of stuff going on, isn't there? And of course, Chum employs outreach workers who visit the encampments for people who live completely in the out of doors. So that, a highlight for me on Thursday night was at the end, I got a magnet for my refrigerator that says supporting Chum shelter expansion. And there were 2 little candy bars in the back, but now there's only 1. Too much time on the kitchen table is spent. But I'm enthusiastic about it, and it is a huge project. Do you have, yes, sir?
How many are there of those sites? How many sites are there?
There is
The Safe Bay?
the Safe Bay.
Yeah.
It's one central location. I think last summer we talked about 19 to 20 automobiles there on a given night. Is that what you're asking?
No, I was asking if there were more than just one, or any plans to put more than just one around the city.
Chum has only the one. I am not aware that they will put more than one site around the city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I got it. Okay. Housing. Oh my goodness. I've been on the phone with Joel Kilgore about housing because I gotta tell you, it's sometimes hard for me to understand. There are examples of supportive housing in Duluth that are closely associated with Chum, and others that are not closely associated with Chum, and yet, because of the commitment to affordable housing, the Stepping On Up program exists as a cooperative venture among many organizations. I didn't know until 2 years ago that supportive housing means that usually one entity builds or owns the building, and another entity provides supportive services. So one example is the Steve O'Neill Apartments. Center City Housing owns the building, but Chum provides services such as family counseling, early childhood development. I don't know how many staff are there, but there are several there providing those kinds of services. The supportive housing at the St. Francis apartment, that building, the former Duluth Inn, is owned by Aspirus St. Luke's, but Chum staff provides supportive services. And this is for people 55 and over who have experienced homelessness. And the individual motel rooms were made over into living quarters, but there is a great deal of community involved because cooking is not possible beyond microwave and dorm refrigerator in the rooms. It is so far a really successful example of supportive housing. Opening soon, another door youth shelter, which is a shelter for young adults 18 to 24. It is located in a part of Peace Church on 11th Avenue and 11th Street, and they have provided the resource, they and other groups have provided the resources, but Lutheran Social Services will be providing services there. And finally, Plover Place, boy, that is really hard to say, sorry about that. Supportive housing. The only directions to go by Plover Place, and I recommend that you do, are to go to Dunkin' Donuts and turn left, and then turn right on the first street and go up the hill, and you will see these absolutely unique, extraordinary structure. I believe they are under the category of manufactured housing built by a company, I think in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, transported to Duluth and put up and housing about 12 times 2 units for people who have experienced homelessness. The whole project, the building, is the responsibility of One Roof Community Housing. The Salvation Army is the service provider there. This is a picture of the community area. Individuals, some of whom have not had any place to call home for a long time, have a room and their own bathroom and a little bit more space, but it also encourages people to cook together and be together. It is completely new in my mind. So, okay.
Or you can try the arrow again, Marty.
I can try the arrow. Oh, no, I'm going backwards. There it is. It took me quite a while when I first came on the board to understand that the Stepping On Up program is aimed 100% at housing people. It is, second bullet, a community-wide plan to end unsheltered homelessness in the Duluth area by providing person-centered pathways to housing and long-term stability. Look at the list in the first bullet of members of Stepping On Up who are absolutely committed to this goal. Joel Kilgore, who is a longtime personnel for Chum and for Loaves and Fishes, is the director now. And Chum is the fiscal agent. That is, the money goes through Chum because Stepping On Up is not a nonprofit 501(c)(3) yet. But these organizations are working together every day to try to move forward on providing affordable housing in Duluth. The Bob Tavani House, the Damiano, Center City Housing, Union Gospel Mission, ACO, the Human Development Center, Lifehouse, Loaves and Fishes, Lutheran Social Services, Safe Haven, the Salvation Army, and One Roof. The Stepping On Up, as a director, Joel said when I grilled him on the phone night before last for a long time, they have to have some central force that can aid in development, planning, coordinating, leadership in affordable housing. People have ideas, most often congregations. Trinity Lutheran owns the property across the street. They might have a dream of building affordable housing units of some sort, maybe like Clover Place, maybe some other model. And it seems to be important that they work together with other congregations, with other local interests, with Chum, to try to capture this, because one Trinity Lutheran cannot build buildings and supply support services. And it is, Stepping On Up is also been, last bullet, a sort of home for some other programs, including our very own Laundry Love program, because shifting responsibilities among the Chum staff. And the Laundry Love happens every Tuesday during the month. Different congregations have different Tuesdays. For example, St. Michael's Catholic has a third Tuesday. They go over there to the, I think it's Spirit Valley, the laundry facility, and serve 40 to 45 households every Tuesday through the Laundry Love program. And that's why I asked for all those quarters. So
Does UUCD have a Tuesday as well, or do we work with St. Michael's?
we started going on the second Tuesday, but we are more financial supporters of the second Tuesday, which is St. Paul's Episcopal Tuesday. So.
And one other question here in the chat about Plover Place, Marty, do you know, would that officially have been called a Stepping On Up project? Or is that kind of adjacent to a Stepping On Up's kind of work?
What do you think, Tim?
It's
Plover Place is really one roof community housing project, but obviously Stepping On Up supports that.
Yeah. So in this case, One Roof had the idea and advanced the program, but since they are a Stepping On Up group, we all took credit for it. Any questions about housing? I mean, it's such a huge topic, and I'm not an expert. But I'm just, the one thing I learned the most was that nobody does anything alone. We absolutely cannot. And so that's why I really support working with Stepping On Up and all those other organizations. We have a legacy here at UUCD, and we've been members since 1999, or was it 1998? Or how are we doing for time?
We're great. Yeah, it's only
Okay.
10 o'clock.
Okay. This is a history that was written in 1999, documenting the first 26 years of history of Chum. At the end, under a subheading called Welcoming Other Faith Communities, you can read this. In mid-1996, the First Unitarian and Universalist Church opened discussions with Chris Correa on joining Chum. Chris was the acting executive director at the time. They formally applied in 1997. Applications for membership must be formally approved by the delegate assembly at the annual meeting. In January 1997, a group of clergy representing the variety of denominations within Chum met with Jim Soderberg, then he was the executive director, to prepare a recommendation to the delegate assembly. Should we let these Unitarian Universalists in? I just said that, that's not in the history. This group discussed how to integrate members of other faith communities into Chum in a way that respected both Chum's origins and commitment to the gospel and the integrity of other religious beliefs. What impact, if any, would membership by communities of different faiths have on Chum? The consensus was an affirmation of Chum's origins in the gospel, a statement that new members must understand and accept that origin, and a recommendation that the delegate assembly accept the Unitarians' application for membership. Unitarians joined Chum in February 1998, actually. So, and it was, all these votes have been by acclamation, and I assume that that one was too. We have supported Chum since the beginning, and we have always had delegates to the assemblies that happen 3 times a year. We have had people serving on the board. We have had people growing rhubarb and baking gluten-free rhubarb treats for the Rhubarb Festival, food drive donations, and suppliers of all things. Now, about a month ago, when the president of the board decided to ask our Beth Tamanen to serve on the board. She's been a delegate for years and years. And I got all excited and I said, well, gee, that would be, we had Reverend Bruce Johnson served on the board, and then me, and then maybe Beth will serve on the board. And then at the assembly, haunts me, Koresh Lakin came to the assembly and reminded me that he had served on the board and also that before him, the late Ivor Bogan, a member of this community, had served on the board. So I don't think I was here then. Well, yes, I was, but I wasn't aware. We are suppliers of peanut butter, but all kinds of food, clothing, and much, much more. We will have, would love us to attend in great numbers the 3 delegate assemblies each year. It's a great time and a great experience. And the Lutherans, when it's in one of their churches, they always make the best soup. The way the delegate assembly works is that each congregation that is a member has 3 votes, clergy, ideally, and 2 delegates. And they meet 3 times a year, and in February, just a couple weeks ago, was the annual meeting where new board members and other officers are elected. Tim Wilson, who is in this audience, is an employee of Chum. And I hope you will do this program next year.
Be happy to.
Do you know, did I miss anything? Did I mess up?
This again,
I just would point out, Opening Door is now housing youth.
Oh, they are.
Opening
Okay.
Door, right? Yeah.
Another door.
Another door, thank you. No, I think you covered everything very nicely.
This is
Thank anybody who came Thursday night to our expansion extravaganza. You will probably remember that for a while. It's pretty different for Chum, but I think something we'll probably try to repeat in the future.
great. Thank you. Another door is the one I mentioned at Peace Church, and I didn't know they are now housing young adults. Other questions? I'll just add one. If you read the Connect on Friday, I'm going to be out of town for quite a while, and I asked for someone to transport peanut butter every week. The worst thing that happens sometimes in congregations is that the food piles up in the social hall and never quite makes it down there. So yesterday, I go to the book launch, Marie Zwiekhoff's book launch in Superior, and Russ Marin was there, and he said, "Did you find anybody? Because I can do that." So, good for Russ.
We have one online here, Marty, and that is, does Chum, for your awareness or yours, Tim, receive much federal funding given the current administration's cutbacks?
Right from the beginning of the new administration, John and the staffs put together charts and reports on how much federal funding or what might be in danger. If we get state funds that have come from the federal government, those are secure. And I believe that, I don't believe there are big gaps in what we could expect that could be taken away. Not,
Future is.
yeah, we don't know about the future. People who live at the St. Francis apartment have a connection to HUD funds. So like Tim says, we don't know, something could happen there. So, okay.